Hello and welcome to the Social World Podcast. I'm Dave Niven, and it's always a pleasure to have you along. Now, today I'm interviewing the children's author, Christina Gabbitas, and we're focusing on one particular book of hers called Share Some Secrets. Now, it's to encourage children to share any troublesome secrets they have, looking at the difference between good and bad secrets, and it's from children between ages of 5 and 8. It's lovely illustrations, and also it's being animated by Sheffield Hallam University, and hopefully that will be launched in the very near future. So keep an eye on it, and you can keep an eye on it too at www.sharesomesecrets.com. But Christina has also had a wider history of initiatives, both writing, both poetry, both voiceovers, etc. She's been quite a lot heard on the media, but also endorsed by various people in government and in celebrities, etc., who've really taken on board the work that she's done, including, she claims, and I think underclaims, the fact that she's probably been responsible for helping about 17,000 children to read. Now, you'll hear for yourself what she thinks about it, how she came to it, what her ideas are about it. But at the same time, and also this is, by the way, for our American listeners too, I think it would be a wonderful addition to your armoury of safeguarding across the pond, as it were. If anybody's interested, have a look and you can get in touch with Christina. So I think really, without any further ado, because the interview itself will explain the detail of this, Christina Gabbitas. Well, welcome, Christina Gabbitas, children's author, multi-talented person, various things. There's so many things that you seem to have done, Christina, that it's almost like it would take too long to list them. But what I would like to do is go back to the beginning, when you were sort of very young yourself. Well, I mean, what kind of a child were you?
I was a very, very shy child. I would rather have been part of the fixtures and fittings. I was scared of anything that moved. I was scared of people, just life. I was scared of everything. And I was just so shy. So it wasn't until, but there was a creative and a child in there that wanted to speak out, or wanted to speak to people, and wanted to be more confident, but I didn't actually know how. It wasn't until I got my first job, and they said if I went on a few Saturdays, just a Saturday job, if I didn't speak to people, then I wouldn't have a job with them. I had to speak. And so I thought, gosh, it's the world. I need to speak to people. I've got to do something about this. That no one's going to do it for me. I'm going to have to help myself. So I visualized a switch in my head, and I thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick this switch in my head, and I'm going to speak. I had to force myself to speak. So I tell my daughter this. I had to force myself, and then I just did that. It was like I was acting, and then that act became a natural thing for me. So it wasn't easy. I had to teach myself not to be so shy and introvert, but it was really hard. And so that really prompted me when I had my children, when they were babies. I thought, right, okay. So I sat there and I penned some stories based on my kind of childhood fears, really, the dark, anything that moved. And I put these stories in a box file, thinking one day I'll do something with these stories. So 17 years after that, I thought, right, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go, because unless you try, you never know. And what's the worst that can happen? So I did that. And from then on, I've never looked back. I really love what I do. I set a national initiative encouraging children writing. My son has dyslexia. He struggled. I'm cutting this short, by the way. And so I set up a national initiative that did get support from the Education Secretary in the outset. And today, so this is now 5 years on, I've encouraged over 17,000 children to have a go at writing an 8-line poem. The latest topic has just been seasons and climate change, and I picked up a Dale Bainbridge Award for encouraging children
well done.
which I was really pleased to get, which was lovely. But I go into schools, I encourage children reading and writing with fun. I like to promote learning with fun.
Okay, let's drill down a little bit, because, I mean, in that 17 years, okay, you were being a mother, you were bringing up your own 2 children, fair enough, I mean, and that's obviously does take an awful lot of time as well, but at the same time you were accumulating stuff in this box in the drawer, but also you were seeing things, talking about things to other parents and so forth. You must have been kind of forming a view about where help was needed and where things could be done within your own skill set. Do you remember any particular moments, any cathartic moments with other children or families or school events or anything that really reinforced your idea that help was needed?
Yeah, with the Share Some Secrets project, over the years, I've spoken to many parents. I've listened to people speaking and their experiences. And it was when the Jimmy Savile case came on the TV, which I thought, you know, this is so appalling. Something has to be done about this. There's people in authority here who brushed all these things under the carpet, and it's harming so many children and affecting so many people's lives, having such a detrimental effect. I thought to myself, what about prevention? What are we doing to educate our young children that would maybe encourage them to speak out and prevent this having a detrimental effect on the rest of their lives? Because that's what I got. Once I spent a year researching this project, I spent time with an abuse lawyer and realizing that people don't speak out until the perpetrator dies or there's an opportunity later in life. But by that time, people are self-harmed, suicide attempts, depression, just has a huge negative, detrimental effect on the rest
Yeah.
of their life. I thought, this is so appalling. What are we doing to help our children? So when I started researching what resources were available for children, parents and teachers, there were very little.
All right. Well, look, let's take a little bit more time to talk about Share Some Secrets. It's a book. It's an A4 size glossy book, and it's got a DVD in it, and it's also got a lot of very lovely illustrations that I presume a colleague of yours, Rick Lum, has illustrated. It looks at the difference between good and bad secrets, and that's great, and encouraging children to share. But it's also more than that, because my understanding is that you've had a very good and offer, if as it were, and it's in hand from Sheffield Hallam University to create an audio version. Is that right?
Yes, this is wonderful. And this came about by me talking to a chap on an aeroplane who was one of the directors at Sheffield Hallam University. Now, I've been on lots of programmes, BBC programmes, talking about the book, and I always said if I could afford to give every child or setting a copy of this book, I completely would. I funded it all myself, and I'm not looking for huge profits or anything. So it's a case of what I wanted to do, because not every child can afford a book or parent, is to make this available online for children to see completely free. So a completely free resource. So what we're going to be doing is it's going to be animated. The story will be animated with words written underneath with the audio as well, so that children can listen, they can read along, and they can understand. And this will cost them nothing. So that's the aim. So I met with Sheffield Hallam University and the students. So we're helping out. So it's everybody's helping one another, children helping other children, teenagers helping other children. So if we can encourage at least one child to speak out, we'll have achieved what we set out to do. When I initially started the book, I read the story to this abuse lawyer who thought it was brilliant. I actually, when I'm writing, I just write pen to paper, and I took my script in and read it to her, and she said, "That's fantastic." So right, well that's what I needed to hear. So now my next step was I showed it to a teacher of a girls' school who also said it was fantastic, and could she have a copy of the book as soon as it comes out? For which I got one for each of their libraries, she said, because they have very limited resources. And the good thing about the book is I had a wonderful testimonial from the Childline team at the NSPCC, is that it's a book that a child can pick up without parental supervision because it's not scary. So I did the research, and there are books that talk about touch. But when you're talking about touch, I think you perhaps need parental supervision or teacher supervision, where Share Some Secrets can take the pressure off parents and teachers in that there's a book there. It has an audio with it. They can listen, read along, and understand. So the book encourages them to speak out, so to share their troublesome secret. So it starts off with Granny's surprise birthday party. That's the good secret. And then throughout the book, we realise that Millie has a secret that she wants to share, but she's scared to share it because of all the comments that she's had from her, perpetrator, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now we've obviously realised, because I've heard and I've talked to you quite a bit about this too, that a lot of professionals think that you've done a very good bit of work there, and that it's well worth distributing, it's well worth publicising, and hopefully this will add to it a little bit as well. But you did mention there too that you've really had to fund it yourself, and I know, talking to you, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying, that you've had to spend thousands of pounds over the years of your own money in actually realising this project, or the end of this one amongst other projects. And I know you're not, specifically touting for money or anything like that, but support is always a good thing in terms of distribution. And so I presume you would want, hopefully, anybody listening to this to consider absorbing this book into their own kind of teaching repertoire. Is that a fair point?
It is, definitely. Yeah, if there is anybody out there, help me to help young vulnerable children of our world, basically. We need to educate our children, and there is nothing, very little resources. Let's help one another. Yes, I can't afford to get lots and lots of books printed. I can't afford to do that. I've already done that. I donated 100 of the books to the NSPCC, which they've now distributed through their school service. It's also available in their library for people to borrow. But yeah, so I started with a Kickstarter. I reached a certain amount, and then I funded the rest myself, because I feel very passionate about it, and I think it's something that we should all feel passionate about, and we shouldn't be brushing it under the carpet. We should be talking about it. It's part of everyday life, and we just need to educate our children. And if we can have something that's just sat there that they can pick up. I remember being at primary school, and we were given free reading sessions. So I used to go and I used to pick up, so the child can pick up the book without feeling any pressure, without a teacher feeling any pressure of like, right, we're going to have this session. Let's just get it into the libraries, get them to look at it. It's a brightly colourful book, and it's wonderfully illustrated as well by Eric Lum. It rhymes. Children in the early years gravitate towards a bit of rhyme. The book doesn't need to rhyme. I have had translated in Spanish. But children seem to like that. And I loved rhyme as a child, and that's because I was a prolific reader as a child, and that's why I put audio with all of my books, because children all develop at different stages, and that's fine. And so they can read and listen and read along as well.
Okay, well, let's sort of do a bit of absolute blatant publicity here for a second and talk about people who are listening to this. Now, firstly, there's a website, which is www.sharesomesecrets.com. Share Some Secrets is one continuous word. And you've, as I said, been endorsed by the NSPCC. They've taken copies from you. You've been endorsed by Barnardo's, the charity. They've taken copies from you. Esther Ranson, the children's campaigner, has actually welcomed your book and may well indeed do further endorsements. I mean, you're actually travelling quite fast in terms of credibility and in terms of the sector that you're looking to influence. I mean, would you say that you need perhaps a little bit more support from the education sector?
Definitely, I do. Anybody who can offer me any kind of help, because I'm just an ordinary person trying to get something out there that we really, really need to do it. And everybody I speak to, when I was doing my research, I was doing lots of signings for various books up and down the country at different W.H. Smith stores. There are some books available within some of the stores as well. Is that this is really, really needed. We need to help people in education. We need to help teachers. We need to help them to help the children.
Well, the first few years of a child's reading life are pretty crucial. You know this yourself, from when your children were young. But I would have thought that it is quite important that when the children actually learn to read independently, to have something like this, which is entertaining, because it is, and visually attractive, as well as meaningful, I think sort of ticks most of the boxes. And
the message is incorporated into the story. So you've got Billy, Millie, cat, dog, uncle, auntie. granny. So you've got it's incorporated into the story. And that's why I did it that way, because you're more likely to get children to pick it up and read it because of that. And I just think that's really important. So it's helping with literacy, it's encouraging them to read. And why I put the audio with it is audio, the different sounds of character voices, that can help to engage children to listen.
Well, you've got three different kinds of kind of projection here. You've got the book, the reading, you've got the audio, the listening, and soon, hopefully, you're going to have the animation, which is the combination. Now, where do you see the animation being lodged? Where do you see that being actually people, can get it and download it and look at it?
I'm open to suggestions at the moment. I'm going to be talking to the people who are animating it for me at Sheffield Hallam University, and anybody who's got any suggestions for me, I'll be greatly received. It will be initially put onto YouTube. How I get that out there, I'm really not sure. I'm not a savvy techie person, but I would like to make the link available to all, really. Yeah. So any suggestions? I'm very open.
Okay, so we've got a request out there now for techie support on this. We've got a request out there for further publicity vis-a-vis educational outlets. We've got a request out there for places such as perhaps local safeguarding boards or whatever to begin to have a look at this and distribute it through their particular piece of geography. But I rather suspect too, although it's very much a UK matter at the moment, but this programme is heard quite extensively in other countries, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And I rather suspect you wouldn't mind at all kind of transporting this across the Atlantic.
Not at all. It's needed because, we're all saying the world over, we all need to get the same message across. We all need to educate our children. Education and prevention is better than having to pick up the pieces later or trying to pick up the pieces later when the damage is done. But we do need to do more. There needs to be more things to help educate our children. I would like to, and I could write something for older children, but again, time, I don't have a lot of time at the moment. Time is money. I have to earn money. I myself have to put bread on the table. So.
Okay, no, I understand that. And I think hopefully that people will begin to understand that you can't do everything, and therefore you should be possibly encouraged and freed and supported to do the things that you feel passionate about. I understand that. What about a project, any other projects in mind for this age group? Because you seem to have focused on them more than others.
Well, I did that because there are more resources for children who are old. I know there's not a lot, but there are things for children who are older, and they have a different understanding. We're talking about a different level here, because you're talking. I spoke, for instance, one lady called me. She'd been abused by her father from the age of 5. You trust at your age of 5, you're implicitly trusting your parents, your mother and your father. So that's a really difficult one. So I wanted to try and because this lady had suffered all her life and she didn't come out until her father had died, but he abused her for many, many years, but she suffered mentally for years as well. And she wanted me to know that. And I think if we can get something where a child can look, they can listen, they can read, then they'll perhaps maybe think, well, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe I should just say something to someone for them to know that it isn't normal. Is at that age, and that's why I wanted to start with that age group, because all children are vulnerable, but from the very early stage, from the age of 5, you're even more vulnerable because you're implicitly trusting, this is the person that brought you into the world, and you look up to your parents, and you think they're right. That's right.
No, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. You've got it spot on. But I
yeah.
also find it very interesting, I suspect you do too, the paradox in here. Because, for example, you mentioned that one of the main sort of stimuli, if you like, to write this book was the Jimmy Savile experience, you know. But yet we do know, and that's where you've focused this, that sort of at least 90-95% of all abuse takes place interfamilial within the family,
Hmm.
or within the extended family at least, and still is that case. And although, you know, situations like external abusers, like the Jimmy Savile person taking advantage and so forth, do exist, ultimately, most of the work still needs to be done within the family to protect children or to allow them to know how to protect themselves.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it is a great difficulty. The one that gets most publicity always is the stranger danger, and
Yeah.
yet that is the smallest percentage of actual abuse that takes place.
I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so look, okay, so we're talking publicity, we're talking getting it out there, we're talking that you are very openly talking about not necessarily having to make much money out of this. You just want the principle of the thing to be explained and get it out there, and the messages to be actually spoken and read. So when you get the animation through, that's a totally different market, isn't it? I mean, I know you told me it's about what, a 6 to 10 minute animated sort of program it's going to be.
It will be, yeah, around the 6 minutes. The good thing about the animation is that the children in there, oh, a lot of children are online, an awful lot. Even young children have iPads, so this is going to be available to them whether the parents want them to see it or not. And it's not damaging; it can help them. So if they are being abused in the home, that at the end of that there will be the child line numbers, the NSPC numbers, people to contact. If if children want to do that, or an email address,
Mm.
which is what they deal with a lot with Childline now. So it's for that young child, it's having something there, it's having that branch out of the home without involving their parent or saying anything to the parent if they feel uncomfortable about it and they are being abused.
Okay. Well, look, I'll tell you what I would suggest if you're up for this is that we've broken the ice in terms of sort of this program and getting your message out there, telling people about it, reminding people it's www.sharesomesecrets.com. It's Christina Gabbitas, the author. And what I'd like to ask you to do, Christina, is come back on the program in a while, in a
Hmm.
few months maybe, and just let's see how much this and other methods that you're using to publicize things is working, because I do think it's a wonderful idea. I do think it's a necessary idea, and I really applaud your initiative in actually doing this, because anything that helps young people and children, I think, in this very, very sensitive area is very worthwhile. Now, also, I think, though, you and I have talked, let's be honest here, we have talked about also putting a conference together, haven't we?
Hmm. Yes, we have.
About basically tools that exist to help children of all ages be safer, and
Hmm.
possibly bringing that together in the format of an actual, if you like, almost like a conference audit of
Hmm.
what's available to be safe.
Yeah.
There'll be obviously your book for the younger children, but at the same time, there are plenty of other things out there for older children, apart from helplines and apart from ways to contact people. And also, I think we should link in a little bit to Alexis J inquiry, Professor J's inquiry at the moment, nationally, that's going on looking at historical abuse.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people who will be finding the courage to go forward will, in fact, have been very young themselves when it first occurred in their family. And
Hmm.
so, do you know, it's actually, and I don't mind this being recorded, it's actually quite poignant now that just as soon as I mention dangers to young children, there's a family of young jackdaws just being weaned outside my window at the moment where we're recording, who seem to be under threat from some other birds, which is quite kind of appropriate in what we're talking about here. But never mind. Anyway, so if people hear that in the background, please know I didn't engineer it, but it's appropriate. Christina,
Hmm.
I'm so pleased you came on and talked about it. We will publicise it more. I will hopefully be doing some work with you too to extend the publication of this and also the publicity for it. But at the moment, what would you like to finish with? What would you like to say to parents who will obviously be the ones accessing this, or teachers accessing this for children in the future? Just could you just sum up the book in a kind of few sentences just for us to finish with?
Okay, this is a book and a resource that can help everyone. The main thing is that we need to prevent abuse happening. Anything that we can do to help children through education has got to be a positive point. Share Some Secrets was put together because of that, because there's nothing available for that age group. So I would just encourage you to not brush the issue under the carpet. Let's lift the carpet up, get it out there. Just have something that our children can look at that will help educate them, make them think. If we can get one child to speak out, we'll have achieved what we set out to do. So the animation will be launched around September, October. So once that comes out, we'll get it out to as many people as we possibly can.
All right. Christina Gabbitas, thanks ever so much for being on the programme, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.